sa Panginoon.
Hello, hi, good morning. Sandali lang. Today is January 18, Monday of the second week in Ordinary Time. The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel of Jesus Christ according to Saint Mark. Glory to you, O Lord. The disciples of John and of the Pharisees were accustomed to fast. People came to Jesus and objected, "Why do the disciples of John and the disciples of the Pharisees fast, but your disciples do not fast?" Jesus answered them, "Can the wedding guests fast while the bridegroom is with them? As long as they have the bridegroom with them, they cannot fast. But the days will come when the bridegroom is taken away from them, and then they will fast on that day. No one sews a piece of unshrunken cloth on an old cloak. If he does, its fullness pulls away the new from the old, and the tear gets worse. Likewise, no one pours new wine into old wineskins. Otherwise, the wine will burst the skins, and both the wine and the skins are ruined. Rather, new wine is poured into fresh wineskins." My dear brothers and sisters, the Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Lord Jesus Christ. The disciples of John and the Pharisees were accustomed to fast. The disciples of John the Baptist and the Pharisees fasted. Well, fasting in Jesus' time was a sign of a deeper commitment to the service of God. Then here comes the question that we heard from the Gospel today. Why do the disciples of John and the disciples of the Pharisees fast, but your disciples do not fast? We might also ask ourselves, yes, how come then that the disciples of Jesus were not fasting? In their defense, Jesus speaks a kind of parable and said, "A wedding feast is no time for the attendants on the bridegroom to be fasting. It is a time for joy and celebration." Jesus is clearly the bridegroom and his disciples the attendants. In this sense, Jesus is telling them that there will be a time that the bridegroom will no longer be with them. Then that will be the time the one needs to fast. Again, in the Gospel today, Jesus continues with another image by saying, "No one uses a piece of new, strong cloth to patch an old garment. At the first sign of stress, the new patch will pull and tear the weaker, old cloth. Similarly, no one puts new fermenting wine in old, used wineskins. When the wine ferments and expands, the old skins have no more stretch and will burst. The skins are ruined and the wine lost." Brothers and sisters, today with this gospel that we heard, teaches us a very important lesson for our life. It has something to do with the old and new ways in relating to God. The traditional ways identified with the Pharisees and with John the Baptist was basically one, where loyalty to God was expressed through strict observation of laws and external practices of commitment like fasting. Again, I repeat, through strict observation of laws and external practices of commitment. And in the gospel today, with the words we heard from Jesus, is telling the way how Jesus relates to God. On the one hand, Jesus' way was quite different from the Pharisees and John. For Jesus, it is primarily interior rather than just exterior. It is ultimately rooted in relationships based on love. A love that always seeks the well-being of the other. Let us just imagine that if we judge what Jesus does by the old ways, surely enough we will have difficulties. We need, as Paul says, to have the mind of Christ. Unfortunately, my dear brothers and sisters, there are still some of us living their Catholic faith with the Pharisees' mindset. There are still people who have not understand the radical shift in thinking which was already introduced several decades ago by the Vatican II. In other words, Pharisaism is still so alive and practically being practiced by some of our brothers and sisters. So concentrated to one's holiness rather than focusing their concern and love to others, especially to the poor and the marginalized. This is the reason why we are being sent out. All of us, whether you are a priest, a lay brother or sister, or religious or lay person, all of us are called to proclaim the good news and the way to the Father. Let us then remember that Jesus came to find those who are lost and went out of the sheepfold. This is Father BOBET Jazmin, SVD. Good morning and till tomorrow. God bless.